Observatory. Sharing experiences and insights on matters of spirit, philosophy, and creativity with your hosts, Nelson and Cynthia.
This is episode 2, and we're joined by our guest and co-host, creator of the pod, Cynthia Larenas of ZONA.
Hello, nice to be here.
Good to have you. Good to have you
Thanks
back.
for having me.
For sure. And yeah, we just wanted to say the first couple episodes of the pod, we're really just getting to know us two as the host. And then, you know, as we expand and get into this show, we'll be having guests. But we just wanted to introduce ourselves and our work. And Cynthia, she interviewed me on the first one. So now I'm going to take some time to dig into Cynthia's work and her philosophy and mindset.
Nice.
So yeah, do you want to give a background on your work and ZONA and what you do?
Well, yeah, I do design and animation, and I created this new brand or subset of my work called ZONA, and that's focused more on music, on design and animation for music, and in that is visuals, it's music videos, promotional material, and then I also had plans of extending it to like a podcast like we're doing now, building a sort of community around it, so doing merchandise and I had an idea of doing like binaural sounds and like making, you know, soy candles, or like just building it up into sort of a holistic, positive
one-stop shop.
So that's what ZONA is, and it's growing all the time, like as in expanding on ideas.
Yeah.
As I expand too as a human, it's sort of a little experiment.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm from Ecuador originally, lived in Adelaide most of my life, and now we're in New York here. And throughout that, I've done like graphic design, and then I did marketing actually, and then graphic design, and then digital design, motion design, and now I'm sort of wavering between all of those.
Cool.
All of those things.
And do you remember, can you pinpoint when you wanted to get into design or creative work or animation? Was there were you always interested in that?
Yeah, I grew up always making stuff. Like I remember designing packaging for food, making greeting cards for my parents. I had like my little label called Cynthia's Card Creation, like Triple C.
Triple C.
So I was always making things. I was making my mum buy me art supplies and stuff, but I had actually no idea that design was a job.
Yeah.
Ever. And even after school, I did marketing and communication. And then while I was there, one of my good friends, Jordan, he said he was studying graphic design, and he told me about graphic design. I was like, oh my God, this is an actual thing that people can do, and it's a professional job. And so I decided to study that, but because I was already halfway through marketing, I decided to finish that off.
Yeah.
And then study graphic design on the side. And then I got an internship in New York, and that's when I started digital design and learning that. Awesome.
So kind of self-taught in terms of the digital, like the animation or aspect?
Animation came later on after digital design. After a year in New York, I went back to Australia, moved to Sydney, and I remember being in New York and being blown away by all these light installations and like crazy things, like moving things, and then seeing like projection mapping on buildings. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, one day. And then when I went back to Sydney, I enrolled in, I did another degree in digital media, which had like animation, web design, like film, bit of everything.
Cool. And you ended up doing light installation for Vivid in Sydney, right?
Yeah, that happened pretty crazily. Yeah. I just met someone, and then it happened, like it all happened within a week, and I taught myself how to do projection mapping, and took a piece that I had made for my final assessment of digital media, like of design in school, and just like altered it and made it into a piece with like projection mapping and masking out all the areas for the building. And then, and I wasn't sure if it was going to go through or not. Everything was kind of so in the air, wishy-washy. And I didn't know if it was going to be selected to be played. And then me and my housemate at the time, Ben, we rode our bikes down to Sydney University. And then we were just waiting, and you would see people's names at the beginning,
right,
before their work was shown. Like every time I was just like bracing myself to see my name. And then towards the end it came on. I was like, oh my God. And it had sound and everything.
You made the cut.
It was cool.
That's great.
And that was like you can't even believe, like going back to when I first saw the projection mapping, I was like, one day this is going to be a thing that I do. And then, but with no effort really, it just sort of happened.
I mean, it's effort.
It's effort. That's like maybe a good thing to say. I didn't have fear of not doing something because I hadn't done it before. I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to do it.
And I guess that reflects in like your approach to your work. You just do the work, sort of unattached to like where it's heading.
Yeah,
in some ways, and then it feels like it was no effort, but clearly you put the hours in and the time, and it's like the opportunities, you got to be ready.
I guess it's like it just like blessings sort of come your way when you're prepared for it, like you say, and also when you're not attached to it so much, like it just kind of came into being, and
that's
it was cool.
So, who are some of the artists you've done videos for?
Egyptian Lover was one.
That's huge.
For you as well.
Yeah,
I did some stuff for Red Apples. That was another thing I had never done before. It was VR.
Yeah.
And we did a installation.
Yeah, that was cool. If you've got a VR headset at home, go look up the AG, John Robinson and Ray West Epiphany song. And Cynthia's designed this whole like Egyptian meets space world in New
Bronx
York blend, Bronx blend, and it's cool. Like if you got a headset, it's amazing work.
Yeah, you could just watch it on YouTube.
You can watch it on YouTube, but
with the VR, if you put your phone in from YouTube and put it in a headset, that's how it works out.
That's how it works. Yeah. I gave the bad rundown, but yeah.
But that was cool. And then I just finished a clip now for the Undercover Dream Lovers. Mm-hmm. Which is cool.
And you've worked for, you've done some work for ESPN. I know I was pretty excited about the NBA one, right?
Yeah. With the more commercial side, I've done stuff for Spotify, NBA, ESPN, Justin Timberlake. There's been a lot.
Nat Geo.
Nat Geo. Lots. I can't remember off the top of my head right now.
That's impressive resume.
Ray-Ban.
Nice. That's very impressive. Well, I just wanted to get people up to speed because if you're not aware of ZONA Mind, you need to check the work out. Which is a good, we kind of touched on it a little bit there with the Vivid. But it's like a good segue into what this pod is kind of about, which is that we want to talk about work but really get behind the mindset and what drives people or their philosophy or their spiritual approach or the things that as creatives or anyone doing anything in life, business or otherwise, there's times where things are rolling good and then there's times where they're not. And I think the key is we're trying to focus on what is the main motivation, what drives you, what inspires you, so that we can all influence each other and help each other grow and learn in our own disciplines.
Yeah, so you can always learn from people. So what we're trying to do is just share experiences.
Exactly, in any field. So I guess how does spirituality or philosophy or influence you and your work?
For me, starting off, spirituality and my work were separated. Mm-hmm. I guess I didn't know how to integrate them at the time, but for me, my spirituality was something I've always had, and it's just evolved, and it's been its own separate entity. And then with my work, because I did start off in the more commercial side, doing websites or things like that, I didn't in my mind even think that they could be blended. I'd have my office job. I worked at eBay for a while, and then I would just go home and then do my own things. But then when I started doing my personal projects, my loops and all that stuff, that's when it started. I felt like a bit more self-expression, and I felt more interest in sort of exploring other realms, like realms that I might explore in spirituality, or just a feeling that I wasn't really exploring on the commercial side so much. And then as that's progressed, it's now I feel like they're both combined, like intertwined with each other.
Totally.
And I work freelance for agencies, sometimes still doing commercial work. And the way that I've integrated it with that is making sure that I leave my desk during lunchtimes, go for a little walk, look at nature, read a book in the park, making sure that I'm still getting fed by the thing that drives me in spirituality, which is nature, which is life, which is light. And then also being more aware and more present with the people that I'm working with as well, not just seeing them as co-workers, but as the teachers or as people that have something to bring to me, or, that we can bond and create and form a connection from a deeper level.
Totally.
So it's just, now it's almost like the agency work is not as separated as it used to be. It's also just a practice of spirituality, like making sure that you do maintain your integrity and your mindset as you're working in conditions that previously before you hadn't associated with spirituality or anything like that. And also as I develop as a person, I also see creation as like I'm a channel, or I'm a tool. So I'm just like really just, it's almost like a meditation, just flowing out whatever is
exactly
it is that I'm feeling or thinking in my spiritual practice, and then it kind of just goes out into my work now.
That's awesome.
So there are various ways that it's intertwined now.
That's really cool. That's like I remember someone telling me, like in the Vedas, like in the Bhagavad Gita, they talk about spiritualizing your duty, your work, so it's like whatever you're working on, even if it's your day-to-day, like try and like be in the spirit and just be mindful of your work. It's not just clock. It's and it's easy to say because some of us do creative things, so it might be a little bit easier to be inspired. I can understand, but anyone doing any job, I guess it's like you're spending your time, do the work, do it in a good consciousness, and be aware that, like, we're not just robots, even though we're all at a job, it's like we're all humans sharing something, right?
It also makes you aware to have more of a balance. So say you're in an office for 8 hours, then the rest of my day is going to be like, I might walk home, it might be like 40-minute walk home, but in that 40 minutes I might listen to a podcast or connecting with music or whatever, breathing fresh air, getting my body moving, getting energy moving. And I make sure that I wake up earlier than I might when I'm not working at an agency to have a meditation, really make it a priority to have a balance and not just get taken over by one aspect.
Yeah, totally. That's a tough thing to juggle as well. Like I think, when I was working a 9 to 5 and pursuing my music, I would find sometimes getting so fried out by the 9 to 5 work and not being inspired. Then when I had my downtime, I could be just lazy and going for stuff that wasn't like fulfilling, just I wanted to just clock out or just like, and it's good to take a break. But yeah, I think what you're saying is super important about like being like valuing that time around your work, where it might be a commercial job or something you're not all the way in. You know what I mean? Like something that you're not, it's not like setting your life on fire, but it's like around that time, using your time to do activities that are like beneficial for your spirit.
Yeah.
Rather than just clocking out. And like, I think sometimes that can be when we get in a bit of a spiral,
For sure. And I think also with that is self-care, like making sure that you don't burn yourself out. So it's so easy, and I've definitely done it before, where you finish a 9 to 5 or whatever it is, and then you get home and you're just done. You're just you don't want to do anything. You don't even want to cook. but it's just being aware of the effort. Like the last month or so when I was working in an agency, I was making sure that I was getting home, cooking, like getting nourishing food, like having my aromatherapy, like making sure that I'm like really well taken care of if I am going to be in an environment that's in front of a computer pretty much the entire day. Like I have to balance it out with things that are going to soften that, you know. Maybe not try and be on social media, or maybe not try and eat shit food, like try and balance the scales, you know.
Yeah. And, you know, guys and girls, don't be open to the aromatherapy and get those essential oils, or
yes. Well, skincare is like good for everyone.
Skincare is essential. I've definitely been overlooking that, but
yeah, and using like nice products that you feel good in. I've been using these creams that are like all organic, made of flowers.
Yeah,
they plant a tree when you buy a product.
Yeah,
it's just like an extra little like thing when you're putting face cream on, you know. Feel a bit special.
Nice. You got to feel special. So in feeling special, and what about feeling emotions? And sometimes in business or pursuing a creative field, or you know, you do have to be kind of cutthroat, you know, and sometimes, but when you're doing creative work, there's a lot of emotion into it, and like I've always found that a bit of a tussle, because you pour all your heart and soul into your music, but then there's this business side, which my dad thankfully has always tried to tell, you know, he's tried to be like, you got to be a bit more callous, or you got to, you know, like, but I find it sometimes it's difficult to navigate those two worlds. Mm-hmm. So how do you feel out your emotions in what you're doing and in just day-to-day life?
I guess with that, emotions for me are very much, there's no difference between emotions in my creative work and emotions in my day-to-day life. Like we were saying before, though, that creativity does take a lot of energy, and so I think that, like, in terms of it's your personal, you're taking energy from your personal, like, bodily, spiritual, soul energy.
Yeah, your own well. It's sort of,
from your own well, exactly. So that's, I think, maybe different in terms of energy, but in emotions per se, it's been for me a learning curve recently how to manage emotions. Like, you know, I've been working on staying positive and all of this for a long time, but recently in the last couple of years, I've also just discovered and learned the importance of really feeling your emotions properly, like looking at your sad times and not judging them, or when you feel tired, or, you know, not as energetic as usual, and not judge them as bad, but really just feel them, allow yourself to feel them, have no judgment towards it. And for me, it's been also, you know, trying to work out where that's stemming from. Yeah. It's a teacher, like your emotions are teachers. So
for sure.
And then being super happy, like grateful for all the times that you do feel joy, that you do feel energized, and looking at that, like what makes you really, from like bursting with like happiness from the inside. But for me, I do like journaling. That kind of helps me with my emotions. But meditation a lot just makes you like less quick to act, like quick to
jump on the emotion and like stay in it.
You just kind of observe it. And try to take the lesson from what it is that you're feeling. Like you might feel sad, but why is it sad? Is your body telling you to you know, slow down, to relax? Is it something that's like a childhood wound?
For sure.
Is it just because you're not eating right? Is it like they're there to tell you something? Yeah,
and the lessons keep coming until you learn them.
Yeah.
Or accept them. Like I think acceptance is a big thing. Like instead of turning your back on them, just like accept that it's there, and like and do the work. Like it's not. It shouldn't be a stigma or something to feel that way.
And it's a beautiful thing to feel emotions. Like we're human beings. Like
we wouldn't have art or what we love if it weren't for that. So
I think it means you're real. You know, I like it. I like emotions
for sure, and emotions are good. So in that, I guess in experiencing your emotions, you know, what about forgiveness and like letting go? Say if you've felt someone has wronged you, or you know, you have that experience, whether it's personal or whether it's in business, like what do you think's the benefit of forgiveness and like letting go of your attachment?
I think forgiveness is like really important for everyone to like for yourself to feel like it's also for the other person, but also for yourself to be able to move on, to regain your energy. And we were talking about the 42 ideals of Mut, like
if you want to give it
the Egyptians had a belief that if you at the end of when you die, before you enter the afterlife, your heart gets weighed up against a feather, and based on that you're allowed to go into like paradise, into heaven and stuff. But that's how I try to think of it as well, is try to keep my heart light. Like I don't want to feel like holding grudges, or I don't want to feel like anger towards something. So I think being light is important.
For sure.
And also keeping perspective that people are just doing what they're doing, trying their best usually. And if we focus on this like 3D realm of human beings with their emotions, that also, and their emotions are reactions from what they've been through, or through their upbringing, or whatever they might be going through. But then if you take a look at perspective and take a little look out, we're all just souls and we're all just energy. And I feel like when you look at it like that, you can't really be angry. You can't really hold on to like, I don't know, heaviness with it.
Yeah, exactly. There comes that sort of
and without
level playing field almost.
Without forgiving, you can't really move on, and it kind of muddies the actual lesson in why that situation happened. Like, whereas, and it's for me, it's like it's a process. It's not something I think at the beginning. Like last year, I had someone hurt me, and it was at the beginning I was like straight away, I forgive that person. Yeah, and then it took me like. And like I would be saying it like all the time, and then like each month or each whatever, it would start to feel more true.
For sure, it's almost like fake it till you make it. Yeah, I've read that once about like even if you don't know how to meditate, or you don't know, or you've never tried it, like just pretend. You know, like pretend you know what you're doing, because sometimes. You know, that's not great in a lot of aspects, pretending. But I think in some ways, like when you begin your approach to these ideals that you might not be comfortable with at first, sometimes you just have to fool yourself into like, okay, this is the idea, and I'm gonna like acquaint myself with it, and try and just believe it, and then more you know, more often than not, you eventually start to see, like I'm accepting what this is, like what the forgiveness is, and I'm seeing its value now after a few months. Like even though at first I was saying I forgive, but yeah, like you said, it might take a couple months for it to like actually internalize and really like, now I've forgiven. Whereas at first it can be just a mental thing. Yeah, but it needs to come from the heart, right?
For sure. And it's like every day it's like a layer is peeling, but also once you really like let go of holding on to things, you see, like I believe that everything happens for a reason, and that there's lessons in everything. And you know, I went through this tough time where, you know, I felt alone, like people disappeared in my life. It was like pretty tough. But then as I started to like let go and really forgive myself, forgive this person, forgive everything that was weighing down on me, and letting that go, I could see what the actual lesson was. And you see how beautiful it all is. Like, for sure. Without that pain, or without that hurt and feeling those emotions, then you can't progress into the next stage of your life, or the next phase, or you can't really grow.
Definitely.
So for me, it was just a beautiful, like looking back, it was just a kind of beautiful, like the grief that you feel, the letting it go. It's a whole transformation. Like, yeah, definitely. Really is a transformation. And then you realize how if without that circumstance not happening, then you wouldn't know this about yourself, or you wouldn't have the strength to do this. So you also form confidence, I believe, in forgiving.
Totally. I mean, it's a big act, you know. It's like
you're standing for yourself.
Yeah, and you're letting go. You're not giving it its energy. You know, you're not giving it the hold over you. You know, you're just. You don't. Doesn't mean you have to accept bad stuff. Or that's not what it's. It's not about accepting people doing you wrong, or like. It's more just like. Accepting it in the realm of like. That's your reality. I'm sorry that you have to like live in that. You know, like almost like, yeah, I forgive you, and like I'm sorry. Like I'm like sorry that you feel that way, but I'm not gonna like. That doesn't mean I'm gonna take what you do or take it to heart. Yeah, but I accept. You know, I forgive you, and like that's fine. You know,
for sure. It's a self-worth thing as well. Like you know. Whether person did whatever is, I don't go, well, like that. Like I remember it, and I don't desire for that person to be like in my life or anything, but I learn from it, and I know now like to stand in my worth, how to deal with it. Like I accept that happened, but it's not for
defining
my, it's not for my greater good, and I've got other things to do.
Exactly. And I guess that comes into, you know, trusting that the universe and the process of life
for sure
has its ebbs and flows, and like that comes through in different ways, and it affects your work, and how do you take those lessons, and how do you take those lessons and how do you apply them to your creative work?
I think for me recently, I've for a while I had like all these things that I wanted to achieve, or things that I wanted in life, or I think maybe controlling everything too much in terms of me and my life. And what's happened to me in the last few months has been just really trusting the universe, and like listening to signs, or really as well with talking about emotions, feeling emotions. What makes me really happy? Like what do I want to do? What do I feel gives me energy? What is presenting itself? What opportunities are presenting itself? And I feel like that's always been a sigh of relief. Like, I know that I'm taken care of. I trust the universe. I know that I'm supported. Like, so now I'm just listening. I've been focusing more on just listening rather than trying to fully take control.
Yeah, and I think on that point, I think we've had a few discussions about it, like taking control. Like I was saying lately, you know, recently I felt like, because I'm always, you know, you're in control of your music or your creative output, and you know, it's a very controlling kind of, you know what you want, you know how to get. And I felt like it was dipping into other parts of my life, which I had to be wary of, you know, like, not like I'm a controlling person, but just trying to control the environment and what I think. But yeah, like learning to like let go of that, I think is super important for people who like feel like they're in control a lot. Is like, I think it's like be in control of what you can control, if that makes sense. Like the easy things, like what you eat, your exercise, your routine. Sure, be in control of that, but then like there comes a point where you've got to let go and let
have
the things
faith
have faith that it's like you've done that aspect, you've controlled that part of what you're doing, like, so then just let the other stuff go. Because when we try and control the external things, I feel like that's when you don't forgive, or you don't accept things, you're just too stuck on like trying to control, but you can't control other people or the external environment, you know.
Yeah, and I think also that there's like intelligence higher than me as well, in terms of like I'll just see what is shown to me as well. Like but I do think it's important to have, like as you're saying, choose, you know, control and making choices. I think are different. Like making the choice to eat well, making the choice to buy products that you know morally, you know, aligned with.
Yeah, I mean, we did, for those who are just tuning in, episode 1, we did touch on some of these things as well when Cynthia spoke to me, but coming back to this about, I guess, control and like, what about, you know, diet and how you stay active? How do you control, stop using the word control, but like, what do you do to, like, in terms of that aspect of your life, you know, and how do you feel like it influences your work or your creative output?
I think, I know the word authentic gets thrown around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Might cause some eye rolls, but it is, I make my decisions based on what feels true to me or what resonates with me.
Yeah.
So my choice in eating is what I feel comfortable with, which is plant-based. What I buy, I try and be as ethical as I can. I'm definitely no like saint's perfect angel, but I try to be what's the word? Conscious of it.
Yeah.
Like think about it, but you know, that thing with you vote with your dollar, like think about where you're spending your money. I'll spend my money on things that really like light me up, that give me energy, that might give me a sense of peace, on music or on, you know, doing things that I like to do, going to events that like fill me up. I'm traveling, like I try and be conscious of where I put my energy and what, you know, how they say like it's what you have to be conscious of what's nourishing you, but your nourishing is not just the food that you're eating or the water that you're drinking. It's also the music you're listening to.
For sure.
You know, what you have in your house, the people you're hanging out with, things like that. So for me, I try to eat well, eat foods that have lots of nutrients, drink like non-fluoride water, keep my body moving. I do yoga, ride my bike.
Yeah.
Walk.
Nice.
Yeah, but treat your body well, because it's like so wonderful that we even have a body. It's like such a gift.
For sure. Yeah, don't waste the gift.
And it's holding your spirit, so you want the bag or the shell or whatever to be like well taken care of and strong and as best that it can be, I feel.
So then it can perform the work or the creative ideas that you want to execute.
I feel like you're going to output better work if you're feeling good, if your body is strong, if you're feeling light, if you're consuming, like for me, eating plants it's energy from the sun and energy from the soil and water. Like it's already, it like loses its potency as it goes down. Like
for sure.
So to eat like food that are closest to the earth, like with all this chi, like locally grown food as well, that gives you more energy.
Definitely.
And that in itself keeps your mind, like that channel that I was telling you about before, that channel is like clearer.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I noticed that when I'm like say on the road, and sometimes it can be difficult where you're traveling a lot and you might not have the best look at food, or you could be in cities where you're not getting the best options, and I'll like get some not fast food, but like, you know, stuff from the service station, chips, or
and you do what you can in your situation.
You do what you can, but I've definitely noticed like after a week of that, like I can feel just my body's just like everything's a little bit more scrambled, like you know, you're just sensitive to the things that you put into your body, you know.
It affects your moods.
It affects your mood too. Yeah, exactly. I see it like if people aren't thinking about food in terms of how it does influence your mood and energy, it's like when you have a really strong coffee. I try and just put it in that term, like, you know how that makes you feel. You know, and I don't see any difference with food and some, you know, like a strawberry or like a well cooked like curry that's like got vegetables in it. You know what I mean? To me, you know, once you're aware of like the energy that food holds, I think it does have a big impact on the creative outcome, you know, or the ideas, how to get them.
For sure. And also like what I was saying at the beginning about authentic, like I guess we're always trying to be our most authentic selves in what, you know, free from conditioning, free from what the media is telling you, free from what you learned in your childhood, free from whatever. And with that, it goes into what are your morals? Like,
Yeah.
for me, I really respect and care for the environment. So my morals, I align to whatever I feel, whatever my beliefs are about that. Which then there's no contradiction in like the energy.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes, you know, and we're not trying to, this is our experience and what influences us. That's what I want to state. This isn't trying to become some preach fest at all. So, but on that note, you know, sometimes people will try and belittle someone going for like, you know, it's not really making a difference, or like, you know, like, oh, you think it's going to change everything, or, you know, the government's doing crazy stuff. It's like, yeah, sure, but
it's just what feels good for
every
you,
individual is important. That's what I think is the key. You know, I totally disagree with that notion. It's like everyone is of value and everyone has something, and if they want to improve or they want to better themselves, that doesn't matter. Like that, you know. I think people need to get out of that groupthink idea that it's oh, if you don't, yeah, but if you're not saving everything, why even do it? It's like, no, like, that's what I think what creativity and trying to do something in your life is about. It's like, the moment you think in that mentality, you're stopping yourself, because that's what it takes. It takes self-belief to try and do something creative and go against the grain, or like make a career where it might not be seen as the norm in society, you know? So I think in that notion, you know, if you are wanting to experiment and try different stuff, like, you'll find people who align with it, and just have that belief, you know.
For sure. And why would you like give people shit for just doing what is aligned with them?
Yeah, that's what I find very just bamboozling about the internet. It's just like, why?
People giving people shit for trying.
Like, who cares? And I even if I don't agree with. If I see people like going in on stuff that I don't think is cool, like, you know, I don't comment, or like, you know what I mean? I don't care. Like, do you, like, but
so long as it's not hurting anyone, like,
yeah, exactly.
There's not really any. I don't understand that making fun of people for their food choices or whatever.
Totally. I mean, yeah, that comes into living in other people's headspaces too much, which I think brings back to what we were saying about forgiveness and acceptance. You know, like you don't have to live in what other people's.
No, and we're all different as well. We're all different, but we're all the same. You know.
Yeah. We all. Someone was telling me about this word sonder. Have you heard of this theory?
Yeah, I have, but I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it's. This isn't verbatim like the definition, but sonder is like that every person you interact with has their own unique experience and set of, you know, their own universe happening, their own set of experiences, and you know, it should be respected, and like that's sonder, you know. And
everyone's on their own path, their own journey, doing their own things. Like, just respect that soul for whatever they're doing.
Exactly, and I think that's when you are in that mood, I find, like, especially with creativity or collaboration, like, that's when those people line up and those opportunities come. When you let go of, like, trying to judge or make, it's like, oh, like, when you're open, it's just like those things, those jobs show up, or those things. Yeah, as long as you're doing your personal work.
Yeah, exactly.
Then, yeah, I feel like that. But back to, we got a few more minutes. So we want to talk about, I guess a lot of this is self-love, and like, but yeah, if you wanted to expand on that, maybe put a punctuation mark on self-love. Or
well, self-love is so important because it's pretty much everything. It's if you're talking about manifesting and magnetism, like your own personal magnetism, that stems from self-worth, from self-love. And in our childhood, Dr. Bruce Lipton says that from 0 to 6 or 7, that's when you're learning how to be a human being.
Right.
And that's when you're picking up all the lessons. Your brain is in like a theta wave state. And if you don't get the love or the worthiness that you get at that age, which it's easy to do, it's not like parents' fault or anything like that. It's just whatever happens in your life. You know, we might like a kid at school might say something, or your parents might be accidentally busy one day or whatever, we pick up these negative habits or these like quote unquote negative thinking, and then we carry that onto our childhood. Into our adulthood, like in our subconscious minds. Right. So self-love, I think, counteracts that. It kind of reprograms those things that you learned that aren't really you or not really your authentic aligned self. It's just literal programming that happened. So with self-love, you're sort of healing those wounds, are like getting them aligned into each other again. And for me, self-love is, again, letting me feel my emotions, like having your shadow side, your light side. It's doing things that you love, like dancing or, doing creative stuff, hanging out in nature, playing with my cat.
Playing sport, doing what you...
Yeah, whatever lights you up. Yeah.
In general,
whatever the person feels like it makes you happy, it brings you light, then doing that, taking care of yourself, like we already mentioned. Yeah. Cool.
I like that. It's a nice way to tie it up. So we finish our podcast with some rapid fire questions. So yeah, we'll get into those. What's one piece of advice you'd give your younger self?
To just be, like, it sounds cliche, but just to be you, like don't care what anyone thinks.
Cool.
Just be you.
It's a tough one when you're a kid. Lots of influence and
for sure, and you're just trying to fit in and things like that. But we're all here, when we weren't put on this earth to be exactly the same.
Exactly. I like it. Last book you read or you are reading or something you would recommend?
The two books I would recommend is Biology of Belief by Dr. Bruce Lipton. That's more talking, if anyone's interested, more in the subconscious mind and the programming that we learn from a young age and how to change that. Mm-hmm. Good book. And I really like The Power of Eight by Lynn McTaggart. It's about... for anyone that's like dealing with like physical illness, it's pretty much saying about the power of intention and the power of love and the power of focusing your energy to heal people, which I think is beautiful.
Cool.
And the book also you put me onto The War on Creativity was really good.
The War of Art.
The War of Art. Sorry.
Yeah.
If you're like struggling with not finding motivation or just gives you a kick in the bum.
Yeah, that's a real nice book. Real simple, easy read.
Super short book as well, so you can get through it quickly.
What's the worst piece of advice you've received? You can pass if you want.
Like, there's a lot of things about like hustling really hard. And I think that healthy hustle is good, but also different people were different.
Yeah.
Hustling also brings that element of like super control
and competitive,
and maybe it might blanket like your what things undercover that that maybe they're not meant for you, or maybe like I don't think it should be super stressful. I think you should have goals to work towards, but I don't think if something isn't working out in a flowing way, then maybe you're meant to do other things, but not in, I don't mean like give up on your dreams or anything like that, but just like have some ease in the hustle, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
For sure. The holistic hustler. What part of yourself are you working on?
Being more loving to like people on the street.
Okay, I like that. That's real simple and something we overlook. I like that.
Yeah, I guess it's connecting, like putting an emphasis on the connection that we're all in this together. Like we're all souls. Like saying hello to people. Yeah. Being more, for me anyway. I was like more like closed to strangers that I see on the street. So having that openness and just like having a chat.
Yeah, builds community. What happens when you die? What do you think?
You go home.
Go home. And that's what we've got to do now. So, yeah, that wraps up episode 2, I guess. Thank you.
Yeah, next time we'll be interviewing some more people.
Yeah, we got a lot. So that's been us, episode 1 and 2. We're the host of the show.
Just in case no one caught that.
Just in case. And yeah, coming up, I mean, welcome to Observatory, and we're looking forward to lots of guests, lots more experiences from people of all disciplines, walks of life. I'd like to thank you, Cynthia, for sharing your story and your philosophy, and yeah, hopefully people take something from this.
For sure. Like, thanks for anyone listening to take the time to
message us, email us with any questions, or if you have advice, like, this is what this podcast is about, like, we're all sharing, we're all here to, like, each one teach one.
And thank you for your questions.
All good.